Reflections from the bench is what Susan said that I was going to talk about, and I don't want to do that in a way that it's me sitting up talking down to you. Instead, my reflections go back to when I was you, and I wanted to talk to you about my experience with trying to get through college and trying to finance it, and the types of things that can go right instead of wrong, which is more what they're going to talk to you about. You all lived through the most recent recession, and it was pretty bad. A lot of people, I'm sure, it affected a lot of your homes, and a lot of the reasons that you're taking out student loans may be because of the recession. Well, when I was in high school, we had the recession in the early 80s, and a lot of people would say that that was a lot worse than this one. And what that meant for me is that my senior year in high school, right when I was about to graduate and go to Appalachian State University, my father lost his job, white-collar job in the furniture industry. And we didn't have a lot of money before he lost the job, but he lost it not at a particularly good time for me. I also had a brother and a sister that were already in college at that time. About a month later, my mother lost her job. So we had no income in our household for I would say, around 6 months. So what was I going to do? The only thing I could do. You get a job, you get student loans. So I did that. I went on to Appalachian. I tried to live as frugally as possible. I had to get a job. And my first job was in work study at the school in the biology department. And my sister had had this job before me, and they just loved her. She was the greatest thing ever. So within the first semester, I got fired from this job because I was a horrible secretary. So I learned from this, never be a secretary. Same day, I needed a job. I couldn't go to school without it. I went over to the Harris Teeter grocery store where I had worked in high school. I went to the one that was in Boone, right off the campus. Got myself a little blue uniform with the tag that says, "Hi, my name is Beth" on it. And for the next 3 years, I worked there about 30 hours a week while going to college. While my friends were coming in and, in their sorority sweatshirts on their way to parties, buying their potato chips and provisions, I was there at work, and I didn't get to do a lot of those things. There was no skiing. I didn't have the money to do that. There was no spring break. I had to go home because I didn't have any money to do that. I lived in the dorms the whole way through. I ended up going, I worked a lot. I would take 18, 21 hours each semester because they didn't charge by the hour, they charged by the semester. So for me, that was a bonus. If I could take an extra class, I was saving money. That was $1,000. So I always was making that analysis of how could I work harder to save the money and get through school. I graduated in 1985 in 3 years, even with working that much, because I just needed to, so I did. And I had a year off after that, and I wanted to go to law school. Well, I graduated with a degree in English and a minor in a degree in political science and a minor in English. And many of you may be thinking, you may be in that position, what do you do with that degree? And the answer is you wait tables in the mall at a restaurant, which I did for a year to raise money to go to law school. Moved back in with my parents, did what I had to do. So when I was going to law school, I asked my advisor, what school can I go to? I've got student loans. I don't have a lot of money to go to some expensive school. And he said, well, your GPA is not bad, but you went to Appalachian and you're not anything special, so maybe you can get into a second-tier law school, a private school, maybe third tier. I simply couldn't afford that. So I completely ignored him, and I applied to University of Tennessee, University of South Carolina, and University of North Carolina, which were within a certain radius and a certain price range. I was accepted at all three of them and chose University of North Carolina because it was in-state and dirt cheap, which was lovely. So a year later, I went to school there, got through law school, and I came out of school owing about $25,000 in student loans. And that's for all of my, I only had 6 years, but for my 6 years. And that doesn't sound like a lot right now. It's not a little bit, but it's not so bad. But in 1989, when I graduated, the minimum wage was $3.35 an hour. Now it's, I think, $7.25, something's 55, and they're talking about raising it to $10 an hour. So you see that you could at least double the loans that I had. It was a considerable amount when I got out of school. So yet again, I got a job offer. It was with the federal government as a law clerk, and so I didn't make a lot of money, no benefits. There was no staying on your parents' insurance till you're 26 back then. Things like that didn't exist. So I again had to move back in with my parents and live with them for a year and commuted 40 miles each way to work in Charlotte so that I would have enough money to live, save up money. So I'm telling you these things because I think when people see a judge, I've been a bankruptcy judge for 8 years and I've had a very successful legal career. They think, we were just born this way and we were never we were never having the same struggles that you have. But that's not the case at all. If I was able to navigate through all those things, then I think that you can do that too. But the way that it's done is one frugal decision at a time. And you have to make sacrifices and you have to make choices. And once you do, it hopefully works out for you. And you will never have to see me again in the bankruptcy court, I hope. Now, having said that about the bankruptcy court, I don't want to give you the impression that you should judge people that are in bankruptcy. Many people that are your neighbors, your friends, probably someone in this room, this has touched their family. Many people end up in bankruptcy court because they want to live large and then they just can't pay for it. And so that's not a good thing to do. Many, they're clueless. They don't understand when they take out loans that they have to repay them and how hard that is. Don't be those people. That's why we're here today. We're going to get some information so that you can plan and not be one of those people. But on the other hand, a lot of people that we see in the bankruptcy court, in fact, I would say most of them, and I'd have to defer to the practitioners here, but I would say most of them, something has happened to them that also could happen to you. So don't think that it's just basically losers that end up in bankruptcy. Many people, they've lost a job like my parents did, and I could have been there just like anyone else. Lots of times there's an injury in the family and someone can't go to work. A child that's ill and a parent has to stay home with the child and loses their job, maybe even loses their insurance. There are many reasons that people can find themselves needing of the services of these people and the bankruptcy court. So it's there if people need it, but on the other hand, our point today is to try to keep all of you out of it so that you never have to see any of us and use our services. I hope that you enjoy the information that they give you and the presentation.